with today's community comment.
Bell, and our guest today is 48th State Assembly District Representative Andrew Hysell. And we'll be talking about all things happening at the Capitol that affect folks back in the 48th. Representative Hysell, welcome back to Community Comment. Am I hearing you okay, Andrew? Not sure we've got a good phone connection. Jake?
All right, I heard him in queue, so I'll keep messing around with it.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello, Andrew. I'm so sorry about
Hello?
We're experiencing some technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, Andrew. Can you hear me? Andrew, hello?
Yeah, hey.
Hi. Welcome to Community Comment. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Oh, hey, no problem.
I appreciate your patience. Thank you. Well, let's just jump right into it. You're one of many Democrats who are proposing to increase school aid and cut property tax pressure. We're in for another round of school referendums next week, as you well know. And you and your colleagues have a potential prescription for that.
Yeah, Terry. And thanks again for having me on today. So, as a lot of people know, because they're the ones dealing with these referendum, is that we constantly are being forced to tax ourselves more at the local level to pay for schools just to keep them open. And it didn't used to be that way. It's been a policy decision over the past couple decades that have moved the cost of funding schools from the state down to the local level. This spring, we're going to have a record number of referendums. We're talking over 70, asking for over $1 billion. And this is while the state is sitting on a surplus. It's ridiculous that state politicians can sit around and pat themselves on the back for a surplus while they're starving our local communities and schools. So the Democrats were like, enough's enough, and instead of like playing rebate games, which is a game, it's a gimmick, like, here, I'll send you a check and next year you can raise your own property taxes again. Instead of doing that, we're actually going to like provide enough money to the schools to offset these increases. And that's what this bill does. It basically increases aids to schools, and it also increases the reimbursement for special ed, which costs local school districts a lot of money. And again, we should be doing this already, but we're not. So we're going to do it. That's what we're proposing to do. And all my Assembly Democrats are on this bill. Common sense, and it's good for schools, it's good for the taxpayer.
My understanding is that negotiations are happening in anticipation of leadership calling an extraordinary session to deal with these very matters, taxes and school funding. Will you introduce this bill when that extraordinary session happens?
We've already submitted it.
Thank
so
you.
it's gonna be jacketed, which is a technical term for then it'll have a bill number. So it's already in the mix, and we proposed this as the only sensible solution because, like, if God forbid the Republicans strike some kind of a deal with the governor where they just send out the money to one-time rebate checks that doesn't get to the heart of the problem, then next year we're going to have to raise our taxes again at the local level. So let's not play political games and try to get points and like, hey, I got a great headline that says I sent out a rebate check when we haven't dealt with the fact that every year people have to vote on these referendums to tax themselves again.
One of the concerns I've heard about that negotiation is there are three people at the table, Tony Evers, Robin Voss, and Devin Lemahue, and none of those gentlemen will be at the Capitol next year.
Right. That's a good point. Terry, I like this. You're on top of this stuff. I mean, that's exactly right. None of these people will be here next year. So, like, why, but they still should know, and I believe in my heart of hearts that they want the best thing for the state. So let's not just fritter this away on a political gimmick. Instead, let's create sustainable property tax reform by actually funding schools at the level we're supposed to be doing at the state level. The state level, we have property taxes, we have sales taxes. These dollars should be flowing back like they used to. They used to under Tommy Thompson. They used to flow back to the schools so that we didn't have to raise our property taxes, and we should do that again. That's bipartisan. We should just get it done.
Our guest today on Community Comment is State Representative Andrew Hysell of Sun Prairie, the 48th District. We need to take a quick break, but we will be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Jake, and welcome back to Community Comment, everybody. Our guest today is State Representative Andrew Hysell of the 48th Assembly District. If you have any questions or comments for Andrew, we invite you to join the program. Our talk and text line is 920-887-9595. You can also call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. Last weekend was a big weekend. A lot of people came out for the No Kings events that were held around Wisconsin. You participated in one, and first of all, for those who are not familiar, let us know about what No Kings is all about, and then secondly, tell us about your involvement.
Yeah, sure. So No Kings, this is the third time we had these events. Wisconsin had 70 to 100 of them across the state. In Dodge County, there was one in Watertown, Columbus, and Waterloo. Madison had a really, really large one. The event is really about Americans coming out to register their opposition to what's been happening in Washington, D.C., the way that the federal government has been operating outside of the constitutional framework that is supposed to govern it, the fact that people are being put at risk in our country, some of them even killed. and we're looking at a situation where we have these like unconstitutional things like tariff taxes being assessed on goods that we purchase on a day-to-day basis. So people come together and they demonstrate together their opposition to this. And yeah, I spoke at the rally in Sun Prairie, and we had over 400 people there. It was great.
And you spoke as well.
I did. I talked. I thank people for showing up, because people, I've seen it in the 48th Assembly District all over. In Madison, I've seen it in Sun Prairie. People are standing every weekend on the road, like on the side of the road, over the bridges with signs demonstrating their opposition to these like ridiculous policies that are terrible for the average American. And I just said, this makes a difference. I mean, in this era of social media where everyone has an algorithm that's guiding what they see, you can't ignore your fellow neighbors standing outside registering their opposition. You know there is something truly wrong. So I thanked him for that. And then I went into all these different things that just demonstrate that the system is rigged against regular people. Economically, it's rigged. We're looking at, they keep pushing taxes from the billionaires onto everyone else. They keep cutting programs, making them harder to qualify for, for health insurance, for things that people need. Cost of gas has gone up to $4 a gallon nationwide. These are things that are being caused by policies that are coming out of D.C. and people are sick of it. And that's what I talked about. I'm not like, this is not the way it should be. We need government to represent the people, not to represent billionaires and large corporations.
We have a midterm coming up in a few months. The president's popularity is at an all-time low. Some recent court rulings have struck down some of the president's executive orders. Do you feel like the tide is changing?
I absolutely feel that people are they're like waking up every day saying, is this president making my life better? And the answer is a resounding no. A resounding no. And he's using executive orders at a record never seen before, which means that he's not going through the U.S. Congress. He's not obeying the Constitution. He's acting like a king. And I think that is really making people angry, justifiably so. Why should I have to pay more at the grocery store because he decided he got mad at some country yesterday and raised their tariff? Why should I have to pay more for gas because he decided, not without any congressional approval, to go and invade a country on the other side of the world after telling everyone he wasn't going to do that? These are the reasons people are getting really sick and tired of this administration, and I believe they're going to be sending a very loud and clear message in the midterm elections.
This show originates in Beaver Dam, and Dodge County is a very historically conservative part of Wisconsin where President Trump has historically enjoyed support. What kind of an appeal would you make to somebody who has supported the president all this time but is now maybe either still strongly supports him or is maybe a bit on the fence about him?
I would just say, hey, I totally respect your decision-making process, and the guy is a good salesman. I mean, he's sold us a lot of stuff that, honestly, has been proven to be untrue. So, hey, we got some buyer's remorse. I would say anyone who's conservative, this is probably the most unconservative president in my lifetime. I mean, no offense, but I remember as a kid Reagan. I remember Bush 1, Bush 2. They would do things that they wouldn't raise taxes on consumers. They couldn't just, and I think that there was a day when Republicans were like really into invading other countries, but supposedly Trump was going to be different, and the conservatives focused on America first. We're like, hey, we're for Trump. So I think the reality is I don't blame anybody for maybe like buying his line, because I mean that's his whole shtick, is he's a great marketer, but that great marketer, he's all sizzle and no steak, and right now we're seeing that we're getting like ground chuck. We're not getting the steak that we were promised. So I encourage people to, hey, let's reset. And on the Democratic side, I want to pledge that we're committed to helping working people. That's where our party came from. The Great Depression, we were there for the people, and that's where we're going. That's where we're getting back to our roots.
Yeah, the No Kings demonstrations, they're great examples of the exercise of First Amendment rights, of speech, of assembly. Um, but really, what really matters, I would argue, is what happens next when the rubber meets the road. Everybody takes their signs and goes home, and it's what happens next, when the TV cameras are turned off and everyone goes home, that really matters about how public policy is shaped. Do you agree or disagree?
I completely agree. I think the reason the First Amendment is the first right in the Bill of Rights is because the right to speak out, the right to speak truth, is critical to the best ideas coming forward. If we were in a dictatorship or a repressive society like North Korea or Russia, and we couldn't speak the truth, then people wouldn't know that there's something wrong. We wouldn't know what was happening because we would not be able to communicate those messages. So it's really, I want to just stress the First Amendment and the right to speech, super powerful, super necessary. But obviously it's going to compel action, which will then be our votes. And people are going to vote, and I believe they're going to send a really strong message. And people are going to be removed from power who need to get out because they're doing a terrible job, and they're really, really messing up this country.
You may have answered my next question, but what happens between now and November to make sure that people who are incentivized to go to a No Kings demonstration actually participate in their democracy between now and November?
I believe that they will be doing so. The people I speak to are super fired up, and no like slick TV ads going to change their mind that they don't need to show up and vote. I think when things are threatened is actually when you get the most, the strongest response. People see their rights are being threatened by this administration. They're seeing that their economic welfare is being threatened by this administration, and therefore they're going to show up to vote against Trump's party bigly, to quote him.
Okay. Do you consider one criticism I've heard? You can tell me whether you agree with this or not. Is that part of what brought us Donald Trump in the White House in the first place were some excesses among people on the left, and is there a concern that maybe No Kings sends out some signals to some independent or centrist voters that may turn them off?
I mean, I don't know what excesses. What are the excesses?
I mean, that's a fair question. I guess it's a lot of cultural things that maybe don't resonate with people who are focused on economic matters.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I would just say, like, you can't really control the ads run by the Republicans, and obviously they run ads that maybe are kind of slightly tied to the truth, but they poll well for them. I would say that I would agree that the Democratic Party does best when it represents the people, the worker, and the working class, and those who are not billionaires. That is something that I think there's a fair criticism that over the past 3 decades, that both the parties have been caught up with that, right? Both the parties have been caught up with, let's just do free trade. It'll all work itself out. Let's prevent any lawsuits against the media, the social media companies, and give them all this liability protection. And that's all going to work out. Well, I think that's why when I say the Democrats are getting back to our roots, we're getting back to, let's really represent the working class. We always were the party of the working class. We always were the party of the consumer. So let's just own it. And that's our focus. And I believe that will pull in even conservatives and Republicans, because that is something we can all agree on. It's uniting us. I think in 2024, we saw a great effort to divide us. And yeah, they were successful, but hey, almost half the country voted against Trump. So, their success was somewhat marginal, but I think we're going to see a big swing. And then when we have power, we're going to really help people. We're going to help regular people, not billionaires.
Our guest today on Community Comment is State Representative Andrew Hysell of the 48th Assembly District. We need to take a break for the news, but we will be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.